Hi, Timo here from Bikesmiths. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about tyre pressure or tyre inflation. So there's nothing worse than being out on a club ride or on your way to work and suddenly you hear the hiss of air coming out of your tyres and you've got the dreaded flat and you can't go anywhere. And we see a lot of people obviously coming in with a flat tyre or asking for spare inner tubes. Now, one of the things that you can certainly do to prevent that from happening as often is ensuring your tyres are adequately inflated. So we'll just talk a little bit about that now. Most tyres have a bit of guidance on them. So on this one, for example, it says 75 maximum PSI. And a lot of pumps that you get also have guidance on them as well. So hand pumps tend to just have guidance as to how much pressure they can put in, but they don't have a gauge. A tyre, a track pump has a gauge on it. So my advice would be to try and have something with a gauge, so a track pump for home, so that you can check every week or so what the actual pressure is in the tyre for your bike, and have a hand pump which is really for emergencies. So that is when you do have a problem, you can use it out on the road, pump it back up, and when you get home, you can pump your tyres up to the right pressure. Like I say, on tyres, they will give some guidance as to what the pressure should be. It will either say a maximum number by itself or it will say a range. Now, what you put your tyre pressure up to depends on some things. So, for example, the type of riding that you're doing. So if you're commuting to work, in general, you don't want your tyres to be really, really soft. You want them to be nice and hard. Now, people will say to me when I ask them what pressure you put them up to, they'll say, oh, really, really hard. But they don't give you a PSI number. And when you feel a tyre, it might feel really hard, but it might only be halfway up to the recommended pressure. So a gauge will help to know what you're actually putting in there. Now, on the way to work, you don't want your bike to be bouncing around with too little air in it. So you want to be at the topper end of that air pressure guidance. Certainly if it says 75 maximum, like on here, we'd never say go on the maximum. We'd say roughly 10% below the max would be our maximum. Okay. Now, if you're, let's say, out on the trails, you might obviously put a lot less air in, and that would depend on weather conditions as well. So on the road or trails, if it's wet, you'll certainly put less air in. So on the trails, you might even go as low as 20 PSI so that you get lots more grip and traction, especially around those trees that you're going around with the branches that are coming, the roots that are coming across the ground, which can be really slippy. Out on the road, you wouldn't go as low as 20, but certainly you wouldn't go as high as the max sometimes, because you'll get a lot more grip with a little bit less air. But if you don't want to change that, regularly out on the road, just be careful, basically. That's what my advice would be. If it's wet, watch out for paint on the road, because that's slippy, any manhole covers, and obviously go a little bit slower. It's just common sense. When you are commuting, or even on the trails as well, if you imagine what happens to a tyre if it's deflated, so for example, if you're commuting and you're going over a pothole and you've missed, avoiding it, if you then hit the corner of that pothole and this is deflated, this is going to happen, okay? So the corner of the pothole is basically going to press against the tyre, push it down against the rim, and then your inner tube is going to be pinched. So that causes pinch punctures when it's too low. Okay, so again, on a ride on the road, if you're pumping up your tyre quite high, then if you think also about it, if it's harder, okay, like this, it's going to roll over stuff and kick it out as you go over it or through it. Whereas if your tyre is quite soft, it's going to kind of go over it and swallow it up, so you're more likely to get a puncture. So again, some general guidance there, certainly if you're on the road or commuting. commuting, you're probably going to put some higher pressures in. If you're out on the trails or doing some cross riding, it's going to vary quite a bit depending on the type of surface that you're on, the weather conditions and so on. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. Good luck.